The Fed15 podcast is presented by Serving Those Who Serve, a financial planning practice serving federal government employees and retirees all over the country. This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended to be taken as financial advice. All listeners should consult their personal advisors before taking any action. The opinions expressed by our hosts are their own and do not reflect the views, policies, or position of either Raymond James or Serving Those Who Serve. Securities are offered through Raymond James Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services are offered through Raymond James Financial Services Advisors, Inc. Serving Those Who Serve is not a registered broker-dealer and is independent of Raymond James Financial Services, Inc. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Fed15 podcast presented by Serving Those Who Serve. Each week, we'll discuss the latest news and info that feds need to know in 15 minutes or less. So whether you're a seasoned federal employee or whether you are just starting out in your career, Fed15 has got you covered. So grab your coffee, kick back, and we'll tell you what you need to know but might have missed in the federal space this week. We are your hosts. I am Katelyn Murray, and I am joined by the unshakable Mr. Dan Sipe.
Unshakable. I like that.
Yes.
You know, you get old enough, you grow roots. You don't rattle the same way.
Mm-hmm. Like a tree planted by the water, my friend. And it
Ooh,
definitely,
I love that one.
Yeah,
I love that one. Thank you.
It has served us in this very interesting week of market volatility that we have seen on top of, you know, kind of what's going on in the federal government. Unshakable is definitely what you want to shoot for.
Yeah, because Congress is trying to do some shaking.
They are.
And a couple of competing bills passed the House and the Senate will now have to go to reconciliation that could have some impacts on federal benefits.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And we, obviously, the team here at Serving Those Who Serve will be digging into those pieces of legislation. We've sort of been keeping an eye out, and we will have kind of a roundup on updates for folks as far as what that legislation includes. But for today, we have a pretty jam-packed episode for you. We've got a couple of great pieces on the blog this week, some really, really, really important pieces, particularly the second piece that we're going to talk about. But I don't want to look over this first piece. It is our How to Navigate the 2025 Return to Office Mandate article. So obviously, as you well know, as part of the federal community listening to this podcast, January 2025, toot sweet, we got an executive order requiring all feds to return to full-time in-person work, all federal employees. It basically is ending telework arrangements that were, you know, many pre-existed COVID, but obviously during the pandemic, they became much more popular. And feds kind of in differing agencies are kind of being asked to return to the office. Obviously, a lot of people, you know, have moved. People have relocated based on this telework agreements. And so they're being asked to come into their closest federal office building, which in some cases is still quite far away. So this is something that has been rolling out. A lot of our feds are already commuting back to the office. Some of our feds are preparing for that. We wanted to share kind of some strategies for adjusting to hybrid or in-person schedules. For a lot of people, it may have been a while since you had to do the whole commuting thing. So don't want to spend a ton of time on this piece because of the second piece that we have lined up, but definitely hit our blog at STWServe.com. If you are somebody who is trying to adjust to the commuter lifestyle again, and you are struggling with that, we've got some strategies for adjusting to that schedule, some strategies for supporting work-life balance during your transition, and some, you know, best practices on reintegrating into office culture and staying adaptable to the evolving workplace policies, which is a little bit of an understatement as far as everything that's going on in the federal space. Evolving is definitely a word. So check out that piece on our blog if you are somebody who is struggling with navigating the transition from at-home work to in-person work. Might be some good information for you there.
Very true.
Now, this second piece that we're covering this week, and this is why Dan and I wanted to reserve kind of the bulk of today's episode to focus in on this, because this is information, folks, as you know, Serving Those Who Serve have been holding webinars. Our team has been, you know, kind of basically working around the clock, having webinars on all of the different kind of options and the buffet when it comes to federal retirement. There are a lot of different types of federal retirement, and some of you may feel like you are swimming in alphabet soup when
Sure.
it comes to figuring out what is relevant to you, what is not. And one of the things we like to do is try to help you exclude what's not relevant to you and really hone in on what is. So Dan, tell us a bit about this piece here.
Yeah. See, here's the thing. And it hurts my heart because I'm meeting people every day and we're fixing it that are thinking, if I get riffed, I lose everything. If I get riffed, I have to resign. Oh, you just got riffed.
Yep.
So not understanding what being vested in the programs can do for them. So I think, Katelyn, it'll be good for us to do a little compare and contrast as far as what could be happening for our feds. Now, the first and the easiest and most obvious is this could be happening when you're already at full retirement age. And maybe you were thinking about staying a little bit longer because your work is meaningful and feeding your soul. So absolutely. But if you are in that group, normal retirement, the eligibility would be at age 62 with 5 years of service, at age 60 with 20 years of service, at MRA, which generally is going to be 56 years, 10 months, 57 years with 30 years. Okay. As far as being able to go, there's also an MRA plus 10, but you want to make sure you're over certain ages. So what's the impact of that? All good things. Okay. So there's an unreduced FERS annuity that begins at the retirement age. You're eligible for the moment. This could be changing for the FERS annuity supplement. If you go out before age 62, that will fill the gap since you can't claim Social Security until 62. Now, important to remember, if you go before 62, you will not have a COLA on your pension until 62. But also subsumed within this, again, to lock down these things so you don't have to fret about them, your FEHB, your Federal Employee Group Life Insurance, can be continued in retirement if you were enrolled for at least the last 5 consecutive years. So that's the easy one. Here I am, Dan. I'm 64 years old. I got 30 years. What if they riff me? You retire. And maybe it's a little sooner than you wanted, but you can choose to do something else. But there are other things. So, Katelyn, why don't you tell us about deferred retirement? Because that's a little different animal.
Absolutely. So deferred retirement, slightly different here. We'll look at the eligibility requirements first. So if you are age 62 and you have between 5 years and 19 years, okay, or you have between 5 and 20 years, but you left before age 62, you can do this deferred retirement. If you are age 60 and you have between 20 and 29 years, and you left before age 60. So this is assuming that so let me unpack this, right? Because you're thinking, but Dan just said I can be age 62 with 5 years of service and I can retire. So let's say I am younger than 62 and I have between 5 and 19 years of service. Okay. I can do this deferred retirement. If I'm younger than age 60 and I have between 20 and 29 years and I have between 20 and 30 years, I can do this deferred retirement. If I have not yet reached MRA and I have at least 30 years of service, then I can do this deferred retirement. And again, folks, if this is confusing to you in an audio format, we're podcast forward here. We will give you the information verbally, but definitely this is when you want to hit our blog so you can look at this information and really absorb it.
We already took the notes for you. The notes are already there.
Yes. If you're in that boat, okay, you can do this deferred retirement. You're going to get an unreduced FERS annuity once you reach MRA. So if you're somebody who's retiring prior to MRA, you're going to go without that FERS annuity for a little while. Okay. And the caveat there is you've got to leave your FERS contributions in. Okay. So unreduced FERS annuity once you hit the age requirement for your bracket years of service. Okay. There is no FERS supplement for this. And here's the big drawback. There's no continuation of FEHB or FEGLI. and you forfeit all your unused sick leave. Okay. Unless you re-enter federal service, and then obviously you get it back, right? So with this option, if you've got this is kind of, I kind of like to explain it to people like this. If you've got your years of service, but you don't have your age requirement, this is an option that you can look at, this deferred retirement. You can just say, hey, don't pay me the annuity immediately. I'm going to wait on it. It'll pick up once you reach that age requirement, and then you move forward. The problem is no FEHB, no FEGLI. Okay.
But an important thing to point out, and this is something that we are correcting every time we meet folks. Oh, if I get riffed, I lose my whole pension. No, that's got to wait there for you until you claim it. Now, yes, there might be some things around the periphery that you won't have, but that pension has to be there for you. You've earned it. It can't be taken away.
So this next option sounds a lot like what we just talked about with deferred retirement, but this is postponed retirement. Dan, tell us a little bit about postponed retirement and how that differentiates.
Okay, I'm going to hit this one right out of the chute. Okay, if you postpone and you come back and file for the retirement later, you can pick up your health insurance again. So that's the biggie. But I'll go through the other requirements. So if you're MRA plus 10, and you're separated from service between your MRA and age 62 with 10 to 20 years of service, you can come back later at 62 and apply for that pension and again, reinstate those benefits. MRA 20, separated from service between MRA, say 57 and 60, not 62, 60 with 20 to 30 years of service. You can come back at that 60 date and apply for that pension and reinstate your FEGLI. So what does that mean? That means an unreduced annuity can begin on age 60 or 62 if and only if you leave those contributions in. So even if you are somebody who's only in for a couple of years and you go, I hate federal service, I'm never coming back, leave the contributions for a little bit because you may decide to come back, because a lot of people do. This will be my fourth riff. So with three major RIFs, we still have a civilian federal workforce that hovers between 2 and 2.2 million. How could that possibly happen? That means more people get hired. That also means people come back. So we do come back. So again, that unreduced benefit. Now, there is no first supplement during the time. FEHB can be suspended and reinstated later if you had it for at least 5 years prior. People get deferred and postponed mixed up all the time. Okay. Thing to remember, deferred, no health, postponed is health. Those are two big things to remember. Now, Katelyn, there's also something called reduced retirement, because a FERS employee that has at least 10 years can kind of make their own forced early out. What does that look like?
Yes. So this is, as Dan mentioned, reduced retirement. So this is folks who are separated from service between attaining their MRA. So you've already attained MRA and reaching age 62, and you've got between 10 and 20 years of service. Okay. So the effect here on the benefits. So this is, I've reached my MRA. I am 57 years old. And I've got 10 years of service, but I don't have the 30 years of service that I would need in order to qualify for a full retirement. So in this situation, obviously in the current climate, this is, no VERA's on the table, right? Because I'm 57 with 10 years of service, right? I don't have enough years of service to do a full retirement or to do a VERA. So I am looking at out the door on a reduced annuity. So my annuity is going to start immediately as soon as I separate from service. I'm not postponing. I'm not deferring. I am starting my annuity immediately, but my annuity will be reduced by 5% for every year that I am under age 62. So in my example, I'm 57. I am 5 years under 62. My annuity will be reduced by 5% for 5 years, right? So 5 times 5 is 25. So I am getting a 25% reduction, a 25% haircut on my annuity benefit. But I also will not receive any FERS supplement. Okay. whereas you'd normally get the FERS supplement up till age 62 because I'm already at MRA, not getting any FERS supplement, not getting any COLAs until age 62. That's important. However, FEHB and FEGLI can be continued in this situation because I am getting the immediate annuity. Let me give you a Cliff Notes kind of rule of thumb here. It holds true in most situations. If you are not getting an annuity immediately upon retirement, then you are not carrying, anytime I'm not getting an annuity, I'm not getting FEHB, right? So with my postponed, right, I'm postponing my annuity, so I have a break in FEHB coverage, but I can pick it up later, right? With this immediate reduced retirement, you can retire, you can keep FEHB, but you're going to give up some on the pension benefit. Something to keep in mind there, particularly because we're talking to a lot of feds who are very worried about losing FEHB. This can be an option if those healthcare costs are first and foremost, but you need to understand that annuity is going to be pretty severely weakened depending on how old you are. So,
absolutely.
Dan, talk to us about an option that we have been hearing lots about, but I'm seeing lots of questions that are showing me that it is somewhat misunderstood. Talk to us about VERA.
Absolutely. VERA, acronym, we love them, a voluntary early retirement authority. That is where OPM gives permission to an agency to offer people the opportunity to retire earlier than they otherwise would be able to and avoid those 5% penalties for doing so. That's the first thing to understand. So the rules would be, person would need to be at least age 50 with at least 20 years of service, or any age with 25 years of service. So there's going to be a pretty broad swath, within that. The effect on the benefits, you would be able to get an immediate annuity. So you'd be able to start your pension. There'd be no 5% reductions. It would simply be based on how many years you have to calculate the FERS formula, for example. The annuity supplement would be available, but not until you reach your minimum retirement age. So if you retired at 50 on this and your minimum retirement age is not until 57, you would not receive the FERS supplement until 57. Okay. Just like with all the other aspects of the pension, COLAs don't begin until 62. However, FEHB and FEGLI can be continued as, again, the 5-year rule, as long as they're in place for 5 years. Now, one weird little thing, okay, if you are CSRS, and we never forget you, the 44,000 are still out there, if you're going out before age 55, there is a 2% reduction per year in the annuity for every year you're under 55. You could also qualify for something called a VSIP, a voluntary separation and service payment. What's that? That's a lump sum payment to you to incentivize you to take the early retirement. Now, one little quirk with that, if you come back to federal service within 5 years, you got to pay the VSIP payment back. Again, I will remind you, 3 major RIFs, we still stay between 2 and 2.2 million. That's impossible if people weren't hired back. So if you riffed and took away and didn't hire back, riffed and took away, it would keep going down. So keep that in mind. Now, there's another thing that's in the mix here that is wildly misunderstood. Katelyn's going to cover it, and that is the DSR, the Discontinued Service Retirement. So Katelyn, tell us about that one.
Yes. So discontinued service retirement. There's been a lot of talk between VERA and DSR, right? And I think that most people in their heads have these two options as more diametrically opposed or more different than they are similar. Here's the major difference between VERA and discontinued service retirement. VERA is voluntary. V. Okay? Discontinued service retirement, the requirements here are age 50 with 20 years of service or any age with 25 years of service. Now, you may say, Katelyn, I got a RIF letter and I don't fall into this bucket. What do I do? You wouldn't do discontinued service retirement. You would look and see what options you have to do something else, right? Whether it's deferred, whether it's reduced, whether it's postponed, what have you, okay? But if you are age 50 with 20 years of service, or any age with at least 25 years of service, and here's the caveat, you can use your annual leave to help push it out to reach eligibility, okay? That's the other thing with discontinued service retirement. Annual leave, I think this may be the only situation where annual leave can be used to reach eligibility. The impact on your benefits, you're getting an immediate annuity. That means FEHB is going to continue with no break as long as you've had 5 years of prior coverage in FEHB. You're going to get your COLAs at age 62, okay? So still no COLAs, right? Not great, but you'll get them at age 62. Your first supplement is going to start at MRA. So remember, I'm any age with 25 years or I'm at least age 50. MRA for most folks who are falling into this category is age 57. So you're not going to get first supplement for that first little bit. But when you hit MRA, which for most people in this group is going to be 57, I feel pretty confident saying that.
Yep.
Your first supplement is going to start then. Okay. But if you are 50, or hey, if you're 48 with 25 years of service, no COLAs until 62. That is a major, major, major thing to keep in mind, okay? Because it impacts purchasing power. FEHB is going to continue unbroken. FEGLI is going to continue unbroken as long as you've been in those programs and you've had 5 years of coverage. If you are in this group and you are CSRS, which I think must be a very small minority, but we care about all feds. The CSRS annuity is going to be reduced by 2% per year that you are under age 55. Again, I think that's going to be a very small group of people. First people, that does not apply to you at all. So that's DSR. But the thing I want you to keep in mind between DSR and VERA, the main difference is that voluntary aspect of it. So if you're at FDA right now, okay, as of the time of recording of this podcast, FDA had a VERA offer. That VERA offer has since expired. They do not have a VERA offer on the table currently, as far as we know.
Mm-hmm.
You can DSR. And the impact to your benefits is going to be identical. If you were eligible for VERA, you will be eligible to DSR, and the impact on your benefits is going to be the same. It's just that this was involuntary, as opposed to VERA, which is voluntary.
Gotcha.
So hopefully that brings a little bit of clarity. Again, please, this is one article that you are going to want to look at. Please go to STWS, Google retirement options, or you can look at our featured articles. It's going to be there. Please look at this on paper. Well, not on paper, but you can print it if you want. But look at it on your computer screen, because hearing us talk about it and seeing it visually going to be two different things. And all the details are there. You can dig into it.
Okay. Couldn't agree with you more. So folks, what are the takeaways here? You need to understand these things. Now more than ever, you need to have this understanding. If you've been to the site, if you know anything about us, you know this is the core of my being. My father-in-law didn't have that understanding, and family could have been hurt by it. And I never want that to happen ever, ever, ever again. So take the time to read these things. Take the time to watch this over and over again. You need to take a proactive approach. We're talking about making sure that you get everything you're supposed to get. And if you want to be certain, email us at meetings@stwserve.com. And we will set you up with one of our part 2 processes. That's where we run an estimate on all this, show you what it looks like. It's like a 22 to 25 page report, and we're going to go through every single page of that with you to make sure you understand. Because what you don't know or what you don't understand can hurt you. Please, please, please don't let that happen to you.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself, Dan.
And with that, Katelyn, my little impassioned soapbox rant there. That's all the time we have for today. I know we went over, but it was too important to not to. So I'm happy that we did. And we will absolutely be back next week to bring you the latest updates you need to make informed decisions about your career and especially right now, your financial well-being as a Fed.
Absolutely. And analytics shows us that about 3/4 of the folks who are watching our videos are not subscribed. So please do subscribe to this podcast on our YouTube channel, FedLife, so that you never miss an episode. And please remember to share it with your friends and colleagues, especially now. People need information, folks.
And also by doing that, you're helping all the people who don't know about us, because that boosts us in the algorithm. So it'll be offered to more people who are seeking answers. They don't ever have to talk to us about anything else. They can come in and look at our stuff for free in the middle of the night and get all the benefit. So for more information on the topics we're covering today and more, check out the blog at blog.stwserve.com, and do subscribe to our newsletter, The Weekly Serving. Then we'll be shipping the latest stuff to your inbox every single week. Now more than ever, it is incredibly important.
And for those who want to dive even deeper into learning about your federal benefits and financial planning for feds, in particular, all of those different crazy types of retirement, we encourage you to join us for one of our complimentary webinars. We've got some great sessions coming up on May 1st from 2:30 to 5:30. Dan is going to be hosting a webinar on early retirement.
Yep.
So we're going to talk VERA. We're going to talk VSIP, which, by the way, wasn't included in today's article because it is not a type of retirement. It is a lump sum incentive payment to entice you to retire. We're going to go through all of the alphabet soup, and we're going to break down exactly what the eligibility requirements are and how those impact your benefits. So if today's episode confused you and you've got questions, mark your calendar for May 1st. Absolutely attend that session with us. And then we have another session on, it's just our general kind of core FERS pension webinar that's coming up the next day, May 2nd. That one's also with Dan the Man from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And that is
You're going to get sick of me.
That's a great session to kind of ground yourself and kind of, if you're new to learning about your benefits, starting at the FERS pension is a really great place to start. So be sure to check those out. Again, if you need a relationship, if you're, looking to kind of, if this is a wake up call for you, basically, that, hey, I don't really have things in line the way that I would like to have in line, and I'm a little bit more worried about my financial future than I want to be, it could be a really good time to discuss a relationship with a Serving Those Who Serve financial advisor. You can absolutely do that by emailing meetings@stwserve.com, and we'd be happy to get some time on the calendar to talk about what kind of support you need there.
Absolutely. So, folks, we're here with you. We're going to stay with you. I got close to 40 years in with this. I probably threw this in the last podcast. I'll throw it in again. Great quote by Maya Angelou. Every storm eventually runs out of rain. Okay, so we're going to be with you through this storm. We're not going anywhere. So thank you for joining us and listening to the Fed15. I'm Dan Sipe.
And I'm Katelyn Murray.
And we will see you next week.
See you there.